We're going to talk a lot about the tailbone and the pubic bone and their actions. So tailbone is really the coccyx for those more technically minded. We're talking about the coccyx bone, very tip of your sacrum, and you know what your pubic bone is. All right, so we're going to be talking about that, and then we're going to see, and the other thing to talk about is the action of the abdominal muscles. So while it's important to create a firmness in these muscles. So if you stand with your feet, you can just stand feet hip width apart to start with. Excuse me. Center your weight over your heels. Let your knees be soft for start. And then I want you to, the first thing I want you to do, even with knees a little soft, is to think about drawing your tailbone and in, which means you'll sort of push your hips forward a bit, your pelvis, and your pubic bone up. See if you can get a sensation in your body from doing that. Okay? As you firm up your legs, those sensations can strengthen. Allow that action to move up your trunk so that the muscles are supporting the bone. So your waist lengthens, your spine takes its normal curves. Give your shoulders a little encouragement to move back. Don't be rough or abrupt. We want our movements to be slow and purposeful so as not to jar our mind away from the big picture. And take your shoulders down. Now, when you do that, you have to counter that with a stronger upward action. So from your feet, charge up through those pathways of awareness that you just created. And at the same time, draw your shoulders back and down. Firm up the muscles in your arms, palms and fingers. Let your head move slightly back on its axis. And keep all that channel of awareness very clear. Keep reviewing that channel of awareness over and over in every single pose. It's a tool that Hatha Yoga uses to draw our mind inward and make it yoga rather than simple exercise. Okay? So you can relax from that. So I hope you can feel that, but we're going to do it, repeat it a lot, so maybe if not, then soon. All right, so I should have taken these down, but that will help. Anyway, I want you to now stand at the wall and move your feet forward from the wall. You know, and honestly, if you don't have a wall, a door will work. So you can use a door. One thing I found about using a door, however, if you're going to be pressing against a door, make sure you're on the side where the door closes, not on the side where the door opens. You only make that mistake once. At least I only made it once. Okay. So bring the balls of your big toes together. If that doing that throws your balance off or makes you feel unsteady, then by all means, take your feet apart just a little bit. It's fine. Your heels are just enough away from the wall so that you feel like your heels, two things. You've got to make room for your behind to lightly touch the wall. You want your hip bone over your heel bone. Draw your tailbone in and your pubic bone up. Feel that lift come through your body. Let your body be near the wall, but not leaning on the wall. Different people will have different points touching the wall. So don't think you have to touch everything to the wall. Just, it's a reference. It's your friend and it's a teacher. Working with props is a really big help when you're teaching virtually. You can't see your students. Now then, revolve your arms. Draw the thumbs. So draw your shoulders down. Lift up in your trunk. Draw your arms up until you come to that point where if you pay close attention, there will be a point, even if you're flexible in your shoulders, there'll be some point in there where your body goes, oh, let me help. That's the point where you want to take a short pause, say thank you very much, but I can get this before you continue. Maintain your posture. Now straighten your elbows up, lift up, keep that tailbone in, pubic bone up. Relax your ribs, relax your tongue, and breathe. So we have a firmness in this pose, but we're seeking a relaxation in this pose, an ease in this pose in the midst of our effort. Bring your arms down. Okay. All right. So when you take it, and we're going to take our arms up forward next time. I'm just going to make this kind of quick. We're going to run through this part. So if you had a problem raising your shoulders up to the side, and such as a pain in the shoulders, this other way may be helpful. But the other thing that I wish I had called your attention to, but you may still have an echo of that, is your neck. How did you get any kind of reverberation from this in your neck? So it's a question to ask yourself. All right, so now we're going to bring the arms up straight, and we're going to see if we can notice in ourselves any different. It's not like one's better or right or wrong. It's what serves us today. All right, so find Tadasana, press your heels down, work the tailbone, pubic bone, straighten the legs up there and intensify that action. Feel your pelvic floor lift. Your abdomen will lift, but it's coming from this other action. Lengthen up your trunk, shoulders down, firm your arms, lengthen your neck. Now your arms are going to go straight up in front. Arms are parallel. Keep your elbows straight. Come up until your thumbs touch the wall. You can stretch your palms out. Now what happened? I don't know about you, but I got a little bit more sway back. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to readjust, firming up that tailbone more, lifting the pubic bone more, correcting my mistake. Breathe. Shoulders should be down. Breathe. And then come down. And stay in just a moment. And after we do a pose, we want to pause a moment in Tadasana to notice, how was that compared to the other thing I did? I don't know, you can't get any better if you don't pay attention. Now, this time is Baddha Unguli-asana. I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things, okay? Baddha Unguli-asana is where we clasp our hands together in this way. And then we revolve the palms upward, right? Now, many of us, there's no right or wrong, but just many people, when they go up, their little finger side will lift up more than the index finger side. And so I just want to experiment with those two actions to see the difference. Because it's harder for me I can't come around the room and say, no, index finger or a little, whatever. I can't do that. You have to discover this for yourself in these classes. And it's really, although there are shortcomings, it's really good for the students that are willing to go through the work, okay? All right, Tadasana at the wall. Shoulders back, tailbone, pubic bone, neck long. Begin to find this pose. We have to guard against falling back into normalcy when we practice yoga. It's not enough to just stand at the wall and wait for me. Okay, you can bring your arms up either of the two ways we just did. You can go forward or you could go to the side, whichever. If you want to try the sideways again to see, did that really bother my neck, or could I do it better by keeping my shoulders down a little more with a little more awareness? Just bring your arms up, interlock your fingers, and revolve the palms toward the ceiling. Take a moment there, review your pose. Elbows are bent, bend your elbows, and play a little bit with, okay, this is what it feels like to roll the index finger side up. Your elbows are just bent. This is easy. And this is what it feels like to have the little finger side up. Okay, so now go back to your posture. Shoulders, lift your chest. Begin to straighten your elbows. And let the little finger side have its way. With me, that's the lazier side. That's what it wants to do. So do whatever your hand wants to do. Straighten your elbows, pull your arms back toward the wall, readjust your trunk, and breathe. Notice what you notice, and then come down. Just keep your hands together. We're going to just change the interlock. Revolve the palms. Go back and review the posture from the feet up through the legs, pelvis, sides of the body. Always remember that your ribs are inside your skin. Let the ribs move without hardening the muscle on top. Now, as we go up this time, think about pressing the knuckle of the index finger up. Soften your ribs, straighten your elbows. Relax your tongue. Pull your arms back toward the wall. Straighten your elbows. Firm your pelvis. And then come down. Could you tell a difference between those two? There's a strong difference. You will notice it particularly on a day when, oh, maybe you've been doing a lot of work, either like at your desk or something, you haven't moved for a long time watching television. You said, oh, I'm going to get up and stretch, or hard work. If these muscles are tight or just lax, there's a big difference in the action between working the knuckle and working the little finger, okay? And I'll just give you cliff notes, at least for me. When I'm pressing the knuckle, it moves all these muscles along this side of my arm and into the armpit, chest, those muscles. When I do the little finger side, it's mainly an arm stretch, which is not a bad thing. It's not bad. Go back and play with this again, one more time. Stretch your arms up. Little finger up, and then switch. Big finger up, index finger up. If you go back and forth, you may catch it easier. Go to little finger, and then index finger. All right, come down. All right. Now, so that's something, that's awareness that we want to build. When I do this, what happens? That's the practice of yoga, is its self-awareness. Okay, now, we're just gonna kind of reverse that shoulder action. I'm turning to the side so you can see me better. I'm gonna stand in Tadasana. I'm gonna have my hands clasped in my back and my thumbs resting right on my sacrum. Okay? Tadasana, it can be slightly separated, but every other rule of Tadasana applies, right? Pelvis, tailbone, and pubic bone. Top of the thigh over the heel, legs, kneecaps lifting. The lift coming up through the trunk, Now we've got this help to pull our shoulders back, but watch what happens when you do that. Maybe your head goes forward, maybe your tailbone lifts up. Different things can happen. Can you fix that? Then slowly, very sneakily, begin to bring your hands, still clasped, lower. You may notice one arm is ready to be straight, the other one isn't. You may notice that your body wants to help. Don't let it. Simply stretch your arms. And you can even keep going into lifting your chest up higher and higher to really get a stretch in the front body and breathe. This opens up the upper chest. A little hard to breathe. Breathe through your nose and then come up. Remember here, when you lift up, it's not about throwing your head back. That is the very last thing you do. If you throw your head back, your brain thinks you're done. And if you simply lift up and throw your head back, there's nothing more for me here. I'm just sort of hanging out here. Whereas, if you take the time to work it through your body and lift your chest and let the lift of the chest be what takes your head back, you'll have an entirely different experience and a much better one. Okay, now then, now I'm going to work on this side wall so you can see me and you don't have to look at my backside. We're going to work Uttanasana at the wall, Ardha Uttanasana, which means we're going to be in an L shape. We're going to play with that same principle of what happens if I press my knuckle, what happens if I press my little finger. We're going to start with that. Okay, so put your hands at the wall a little closer to hip height. And then step your feet back, keep your feet under your hips and be willing to adjust them as you extend. But you got to start somewhere. So get your arms about shoulder height. If it needs to be higher for you, that's fine. But find a place where you can work and take a few practice runs before you stretch everything else, just stretching through your shoulders back and forth. I'm not in big pose yet. I'm just stretching my shoulders. All right, so you can see how that feels. Now, find Tadasana through your legs. Press your feet down. Draw up through your legs. Tailbone to pubic bone is a little harder to find when you're bent over, but it can happen. So the abdomen should be firm, and that does not include whatever's hanging on front of the muscle. The muscle should be firm. And then we want to press the hands into the wall to press our hip back. And what would make you adjust your feet is if your hips were behind or in front of your heel. And so the legs should be perpendicular. Now, what happens, so stretch all the way through and press all of your knuckles down, the heel of your hand down, everything presses the wall. Now, what happens if you take more pressure in the little finger side? Just notice, where does it go? What happens? What happens now if you slowly roll across and let the little fingers be light on the wall and press into the index finger. Keep breathing, relax your tongue. Now, kind of halfway come out, soften everything up, do a reset, press everything down, all of the knuckles, get all the circle of the hand, press it down, press yourself back, hips over the heels, legs strong, breathe. All right, walk in. Whew. That is more work than it looks like. I think it is. When you can get into that, it's exciting. So now I want to just get a little movement Now we're gonna skip wall push-ups. I got other things to do. You could do wall push-ups on your own. Just remember with wall push-ups, elbows are in, chest is lifted. This is the action. And then what I want, let's do about 3, because what I want you to do is to move your shoulder blades in. So rather than just pushing up and down with your arms, right, which is so easy, I want you to come up on your toes, draw your shoulders back, and then move to the wall by drawing your shoulders together, elbows in. You have to use your abdominals. You have to use your legs. You've got to use everything. It's about moving your shoulders. See how you're doing. Can you feel that? It's so different than just pumping your arms. Okay, good. It turns it into a whole body movement. Okay, so now then let's move along. I'm not going to use my mat now because it's just cumbersome. So get your chair and have your left foot at the wall and your chair, the back of the chair facing the wall. We're going to step the side of the left foot, put that at the wall. The little toe side of that foot at the wall. Then you're going to take your right foot and step out. And you want to line your right heel up with your left arch. That's an idea of straightness. Now, we know that these standing poses are very much about what you do with your legs and your hips and your abdomen. But I want to take us through that because we've done that quite a bit. I want us to really focus on mid-back and upper back and neck and head, okay? So don't skip the other part, but you've been taught that a lot, okay? So square the hips, tailbone, pubic bone, draw up through your legs. Hips are perpendicular and parallel to the floor. It takes some muscular action. This right thigh rolls out so that your knee is going the same direction as your toes. Okay? Then lift up. You're at a wall, so only one arm can go right now, but that's all right. Just lift up. Keep that sense of lifting and bend right at the hip. The waist doesn't change. The ribs don't change. Only the hip changes. You can stop here and put your hand on the back of the chair. In fact, everybody, even if you're able to do more, stop here. So that it's very easy for us now to think about the right thigh has to roll back. So these muscles on the upper outer thigh are active, releasing the inner thigh. The left foot is pressing the wall, which helps us extend through the trunk. Tailbone and pubic bone, so that we keep that extension true, and that it doesn't bend us. Then when we turn, you can just rest your hand on the back of the chair, turn, move through your upper back, mid-back, and upper back. The waist follows. The shoulders follow. The head follows. It's mid-back and upper back that we're pressing and twisting. Breathing through the nose, relaxing the tongue. Slowly unwind that. And then step out. Could you feel that? I hope that you can feel that, that using props is in no way a step back. In fact, in many ways, it makes the poses harder because it tells us where we're right, where we're wrong, and it supports us so we have time enough to investigate what would be proper. All right. Right heel at the wall, step out with your left foot, heel to arch alignment. Now square up your hips, horizontal and vertical. Tailbone in, pubic bone up. Feel that lift come up through your trunk. Release your shoulders, lengthen your neck. Breathe. And then bring your arms up. I think it could help to bring them up a little higher than usual. We don't usually raise them up this way, but it gives you a sense of lifting your trunk. Did it also take your tailbone up? Notice what happened. Now, move your hips toward the wall. Bend at that hip socket. Roll that left thigh out, using the muscles on the upper outer thigh. Bring your hand, your forearm actually, to the back of the chair and continue to move your hips toward the wall. You can have your hand on your hip. Mine just got stuck up in the air, but you can keep your hand on your hip. And it's instructed to do that because then you have a way of noticing, oh, my hip is turned forward. Your left upper thigh should be working pretty hard. And your right leg should be working fairly hard to help you pull that hip back and to help you lengthen your trunk. Then make sure it's tailbone to pubic bone is working. Lengthen your trunk and begin to twist through the mid-back. Very slowly. Keep your chin in line with your clavicular notch, that center little dip in your collarbone. Don't let it get ahead. Move your trunk. It helps to move on an exhale. I have to admit though, at this point, I can sort of have a continuum. If your arm is up, it can help you to pull it further back. But at this point, I like my hand down because I can monitor my hip and my elbow can go further back. And then inhale and come up. And step up. Stand in Tadasana. Then all of our parts get back in the right spot. And breathe. Remember all the Tadasana points. Find that steadiness and breathe. That stability, that peacefulness. And breathe. Okay. Okay. We're going to do, we could do several more iterations of Trikonasana, but we do have time constraints in this class. We can't play all day like we might want to. Oh, okay, I've got a big clock. Sorry, I have your big clock up here I'm counting on. I'm still using it. So anyway, when you practice at home, you might be able to get interested in what would happen then if I did pretty well with this first one. Well, what would happen then if I took my hand down? What would happen if I took my hand on a tall block? You see, you could make a nice practice for a part of a practice, just investigating your reactions to that. That's how you find your own mistakes. Okay, let's work on, let's sit in the chair. That feels nice. You can enjoy that moment. Now we're going to do Parsvakonasana, and I will mirror you on this one since I'm facing you. So this is my left leg, but it'll be your right. You're going to take your right leg out, and you're going to line your heel up with the front leg of the chair. Then you're going to take your left leg back. Now, where you sit in the chair depends upon your proportions, right? There are some people with long legs that can work from right here, but for me, I'm a bit shorter. So I'm going to adjust so that this chair is really supporting only my thigh. So you may need to adjust yourself or your chair so that the back of the chair is not hitting you this tender inner thigh area, okay? Because that's a distraction. All right, so right heel in line with the front leg of the chair, back heel, same thing, the arch. Now, you may have this big V here, right? So we want to push our tailbone forward, pubis up, draw this top thigh back, and sit up. Sit up. You can use your hands here to press them back and to push your tailbone forward, pubis up. Feel the lift through your trunk. Now, square your shoulders up so they're not twisting to the right. Lift up tall. Now begin to bend your right elbow, keeping all this alignment. Bend your right elbow, put the forearm on your right knee, push that knee forward with your forearm, and continue to lengthen as you press into the outside edge of your left foot, drawing the inner thigh a little bit up off of the edge of the chair. Now you can stretch that arm out, the left arm out, straight out. Open your chest. Press into the arm, the right arm on the chair. Open your chest so that both sides of your trunk are going equally and evenly. Roll the left shoulder down. If you can take this left arm over your head in line with your ear. Okay, bring it back to just straight out. Now, I wanted you to see the difference. Now, use this arm to press through the rotation of the mid-back, the upper back, shoulders. Now take that upper arm as far over as you're able, ideally behind your, and breathe. And then come up. And sit. So there's a big difference between just leaving your trunk forward, taking the shape of the pose, but not doing much with your trunk and just taking your arm over. So much easier, I must admit. But when we go to when we accept the work of the full pose, then we get a lot more benefit. So this softer weight is not bad. I'm saying that this way of being in this pose and rotating the ribs more is going to give you more benefit. I agree, it's more work. Press down with your feet on the floor. Bring your pubis toward the front of the chair. Bring the knees and thighs back so that you should have a nice right angle on this left leg. Then we're going to bring our trunk more vertical. Tailbone to pubic bone so that the abdomen lifts to support the back body. Use the arms on the front of the thigh and both thighs actually, pressing back against them just firmly, but not roughly. We all have to walk a line between teaching ourselves, improving ourselves, and being too rough on ourselves, okay? Now, keep this lift. Keep the pressure, especially on this left arm, as you extend yourself. If you didn't adjust, go ahead and adjust, make sure. Bring yourself down, down, down. And Eileen, I know that your legs are shorter, so you may have to put your leg on or foot on a block in order to get this done. Now, we're going to press that left knee forward, lengthen through the left thigh, taking that hip back. Let the mind go down to the outside edge of that right foot, and then take the right out from the outside edge of that right foot up the side of your body and stretch your arm up. And you can feel that connection. Take a couple of breaths, and then we're going to roll the trunk, mid-back, upper back, neck, and head. Everything's working. The feet are pressing. Trunk is extending, revolving, arms are working. And then release that. And come on. So again, if you found that fairly easy, then if you practice with this video at home in your own time, you can pause it and take off on your own so that you could, for example, I'll just show quickly, you could come from here, you could come down and grab the leg of the chair. I know it's there somewhere. There it is. That lets you press your knee into your arm. It helps you turn your trunk. There's a lot of nice things about doing that. It's not available to everybody, but if it's available to you, you could practice this way at home. All right. And then you could take this idea into your floor practice. Use the wall. Make sure you're not sticking your behind. There are lots of ways that we can learn by using props. All right. Then we're going to work one more pose in the chair and then head onto the floor. This is a twist. I don't know how you can teach mid-back and upper back without twisting. The two things that are important to know about twisting is that the bottom and the top stay stable. And it's the mid-back and upper back and neck that twists. So anything below your mid-back is meant to stay. It will twist, it will move, okay? But we're not twisting it. It'll be a reflection of what we're doing. And the shoulders travel along. The head travels along. It doesn't, and it's our humanness to just want to go and twist, right? And think that we twisted. We didn't. If you saw that, then watch what happens when I try a little harder to do this. And I hope you can see there's a huge difference in the amount of twist that I can get in my trunk by going this way instead of this way. Can you see? I hope. Anyway, it feels very different. So here, this time, we're going to sit sideways in the chair. I'll go this way. This will be your right. Oh, here's something good to remember. If you have a sticky mat, and if you don't, it's not the end of the world, and you may want to do this another time. There's a way to fold this sticky mat a long way, put it in the chair, and put most of it behind you. And then because of chairs, and if you have a chair that is very flat in the seat, this isn't an issue. But most of these folding chairs, they're a little higher on the front than they are on the back. So what you can do is take this tail in, tuck it under, keeping it away from the front of the chair to sort of fill in this back part. It's about this far from the edge, okay? And that helps keep the hips level. It's an issue that we deal with a lot when we're using these folding chairs. And I was at a workshop with Eric Small, who is a great story. I'll tell you about him another time. And he said, do this. And I went, why didn't I think of that? That's such a simple answer to an issue that has been plaguing me for 30, 40 years, right? So you never know when brilliance strikes. So sit in your chair so that your outer hip, I said I was going to go this way for you, didn't I? I'm sorry. So you're going to have your right side at the chair. Press your feet down, especially your heels. Make sure it's your heels and not your toes that you're pressing. Lift up, tailbone, pubic bone. Feel that action. I hope that you've gotten enough of that action in this class today. Lift up through the trunk, shoulders go down and back, head goes back. Set your posture right now. Imagine that your knuckles. You can take off your hand and just stick your knuckles sideways through between your knees. They don't come together. They need to stay where they are. Press your feet down, lift up. Begin to twist in the mid-back. Let your head alone. Let your shoulders alone. Move your mid-back. Again, it's easier to move on an exhale. When it's easier for your right hand to touch the back of the chair, you can pause a moment and do that, and take that moment to observe and correct. So when I put my hand up, my shoulder came up. So I'm going to take that shoulder down, lift up the right side of the trunk, make sure that both sides, and the left side will tend to sink in. So even up your trunk. Then proceed, moving in the mid-back. When it's very easy for you to reach the back of the chair with your left arm without losing any of the awareness of the trunk, do that and pause and assess again. Are your feet still pressing? Adjust through your waist so that your trunk is straight. Shoulders both down. Get in line with your center of your chest. And breathe a moment. And then continue. Moving in the mid-back, into the upper back. Shoulders down. When you are done with all of that, you can move your neck, keeping your jawline parallel to the floor. Head in line with the rest of your spine. And then look back to your right. Slowly unwind. And rest a moment. Sit in Dandasana. A little softer Dandasana than before maybe. But sit for a moment. Take a couple of breaths. The only thing I don't like about having a sticky mat in my chair is that I always thought, and those of you that have been my students for a while, I always thought it was really fun to just pick up my feet and spin around in the chair seat because it was slippery. So I have to give up on that entertainment here. But this is a much better setup for the pose. So turn to your left side and sit tall. You know, we're not always blessed with a perfect chair or a perfect setup or a perfect room or anything. And so you have to be creative with what you have and improve it as your knowledge improves. All right, so sit tall, feet down, trunk up, tailbone, pubic bone. These front ribs soften in, side ribs lift, head back, shoulders down. Take an inhale. On the exhale, begin to move the mid-back. Keeping your head in line, shoulders get to ride along. And walk your hand over to the left leg and bring your left hand to the back of the chair and pause there and notice. Well, what I notice is my weight is more on my left hip, which means the left side of my waist has caved in and the right side of my rib cage has expanded. So that's pretty true of most people. It's pretty normal. So make the corrective actions. Level your hips. Draw the left ribs in and lengthen the right side. Shoulders down, head in line. Take a moment. Then there's a good firm pressure on the back of the chair. I'm not pushing myself, but it's leverage. Then, as you're ready, take an inhale. And as you exhale, begin to twist more from the mid-back. And when you're able, you can bring that right hand up, elbows out, upper back. Keep breathing. Relax your tongue. Look back to the left. And look to the right. And slowly come out. Take a breath, sit for a moment. Okay, and stand up. Again, we don't need a sticky mat. We're gonna use your bolster, 2 blocks, and a blanket. We're going to put the 2 blocks on the floor at the wall. We're going to put the bolster on the floor parallel to the wall. We're going to put a blanket on the floor in front of the bolster. And we're going to lay back over the bolster. When we lay down, we're going to want to have ourselves centered so that our waist, the top of the pelvis, waist area, is fairly well centered on the bolster. Now, if you're more petite, if you don't have tremendous flexibility in your back, then you will want to take an extra blanket or 2 and put them on this other blanket. And maybe you'll need another bit of height so that your shoulders can come down and touch the floor and your head can relax. All right? To get on this bolster gracefully, and well, gracefully is enough. You're going to sit on the side of it. You're going to sit on the edge of it with this hip. I'm going to reach back. I'm grabbing my bolster with my other hand and rolling my hips over it. Here, I'm going to adjust my hips a little closer to the wall for me to try to bring my waist to the middle of the bolster. Then, come down on the elbows. Lower yourself down. Tuck your shoulder blades under. This is a good time to take off glasses. Now, we want to straighten our legs. So this is where being on a carpet is a disadvantage. So if you are on a carpet, you may want to start quite a bit further from the wall than I did. The idea is, though, if you can scoot, it helps to draw the shoulder blades down. Now, lengthen your neck by lifting your head with your fingertips. If you need a little bit of extra pillow under there, that's fine. Make it neat and draw it up to touch your shoulders. Not under them, but to touch them. All right, now the legs are straight. Feet are parallel. Feet are touching the wall evenly and equally. The heels now press into the wall. What did that do? It brought tailbone to pubic bone, I hope. Feel how that changed. Pressing the heels to the wall, straightening your legs, and breathing. It also may have helped to lift your chest. Feel the reaction to your action. Notice if both legs are pressing evenly. Close your eyes. Relax your eyes. Relax your jaw and your tongue. The shoulders should be caught underneath you, so nothing more is needed from you. There, just relax your hands out to the side. Your feet continue to exert just a little bit of pressure against the wall, drawing that from that action up your legs, tailbone to pubic bone. Allow the muscles of your abdomen to broaden. They may tend to bulge. See if you can convince them that's really not necessary. Broaden the muscles of the belly. so that they can be more relaxed and move with your breath. And allow that movement to be felt up through your waist, up through your mid-back. Feel the ribs move. Feel your spine receive that breath. Make your breath right now a little bigger than usual. Not huge, but just a little bigger so you can observe it easier. Can you feel it in your upper chest? Breathe in a way that draws that breath right up to the top chest. Let it hit. Mr. Iyengar used to call this the dashboard of your chest, right under the collarbones, right at the top. Maybe your breath will slow down. Let it still be a little more firm, a little more directed. Nothing difficult, just to maintain awareness. Observe your shoulders and arms again. Are they optimal? Are they perfect? Neck and head, perfect. Are you happy? I hope you enjoy this pose. Now then, allow your breath to settle into something softer and more normal for you while maintaining. Really, the only thing we have to maintain is feet on the wall, a firmness in the leg. We've set everything up for ourselves beautifully. Let your breath flow naturally. Feel the spaciousness that you've created by opening the upper back, lower, middle back, working with the shoulders. Enjoy the spaciousness. And again, when you practice this at home, you could stop the video right now. You could stay here as long as it felt comfortable and productive for you to do so, until your mind started wandering, thinking, are we going to stay here forever? And then it's time to come out. And unfortunately, we have time constrictions. So we're going to put the feet on the floor. We're going to lift our hips up and push the bolster toward the wall. Roll the hips off of the bolster onto the floor and cross the shins on the bolster and just rest. You may either cross your shins on the bolster. In that case, in a moment, you'll need to change the cross. Or you can just drape your legs over the bolster in such a way that your heels touch the floor, but your toes do not touch your blocks or anything else. So you can have a choice here. Now just rest. And if you crossed your legs, change the cross of your legs. Just breathe normally and gratefully. This is so delicious. And again, if you're using the video at home, you can pause it and finish this part all on your own. But for now, we can bend the knees. I like to put my feet up on the bolster for a minute, tailbone to pubic bone for a moment, press the lumbar into the floor for just a moment and release it. And that felt good. Do it again a time or two. And then when you're ready, you're going to take your right arm up, roll on your right side, knees are bent, and rest there. You can rest your head on your arm or on the floor, whatever is comfortable. Just rest for a moment. Take some nice breaths. And then roll forward. Push yourself up to sitting. And just sit, just for a moment. Some way that's comfortable for you. You can sit back in your chair. That's perfectly all right. Any leg position that works for you. You can sit at the wall with your legs straight. Wonderful. Whatever you do, sit up tall. Descend your thighs. Tailbone in, pubic bone up. Feel the sides of your body lift. Shoulders release down. Neck lengthens. Just rest your hands. Any hand configuration you like there. You can do mudra, palms up, palms down. Palms down, rest your wrists on your knees and draw your shoulders back. Produces sort of a hammock-like support. And breathe. Bring your palms together, thumb side of the hand just below the breast at the sternum. And gently lift that skin up. Take your shoulders down again. Sit tall for a moment. Bring all the sides of your palm together. Sometimes that little finger side, it's a little hard to get together. Next inhale, lift your chest more. Exhale, bow your head. And take a moment to be grateful for all the blessings of your life. Namaste. And thank you for coming.